Hey friends, welcome to Happy Hour with Honeybee Stampers. My name is Hattie Nelson and I'm excited to share with you again this week. I've decided to maybe go through the celebration catalog over the next couple weeks with you. I felt like that would be a really good idea to share. Celebration comes around once a year now and it happens in January and February. And so this is the catalog, and inside this catalog you've got all kinds of beautiful product from Stampin' Up! That you can earn for free based on your sales. So I have chosen the Dainty Flowers Designer Series paper on page 6 of this catalog as the product that I'm going to feature this week. Okay, so this Designer Series paper is beautiful. It is 12 by 12. Hi, Hannah. And I'm going to go through all of the paper with you, and then I'm going to actually share with you some about this bundle here that coordinates with it. And so let's get started on that. And I do have a little project that I want to share with you today. So, like I said, the Designer Series paper is 12 by 12. It is double-sided, so I'm going to kind of go through each page so you guys can see. This is the other side of that, kind of like a watercolor look. I love this paper here. You can do so much with it, and I'm going to show you some samples of some projects that I created with this paper. If you're watching live, definitely say hi. I will be watching the comments this time so that I can speak to everybody on the live and answer any questions if you have any. And then I will upload this to YouTube later as well. So this is a fun page, and I do have some samples with this page as well. And I'll explain how I would cut this paper down. And this looks like, yeah, that's the other side of that. It kind of looks very similar to this one. Very, very similar, these pages here, but they are different on the other side. Okay. Then we've got this one that's just got different shades of green. This looks like fresh freesia here. Beautiful. This pattern definitely stood out to me. Navy blue, or any shade of blue really, are one of my favorite colors. So I really saw that and love that. I designed a project I'll be sharing with you today featuring that. And then here's another sheet. And then we've got this sheet here. So as you can see, it's a very colorful grouping here. And if you're looking at a catalog, you can always find at the very bottom the colors that coordinate. So you've got Blushing Bride, Crushed Curry, Fresh Freesia, Old Olive, Rich Raspberry, and even Starry Sky. So Starry Sky is one of our new in colors, and I absolutely love that. So that is a Designer Series paper. It is free when you place a $50 order. And it just so happens that Stampin' Up! Came out with a bundle of products called Dainty Delight. And we're very lucky because they named the stamp set the same as the dies. It's something that we've been asking for. Makes it easier to get organized and all that good stuff. So let me show you in the catalog where you can find that. Okay, so on page 55 of your catalog here, you're going to see the Dainty Delight stamp set and also the dies. So if you flip back to the back of the catalog, they do break up the catalog so that you'll see the stamp set kind of pretty much at 100%. So that's the size. They'll let you know if it's not the size of the stamp, but you can pretty much guesstimate that's the size of the stamp. And then at the bottom, you've got this little tiny picture here that shows you the dies that coordinate with it. So if you go to the page that's indicated here, which is 77, if you go to the back, they're going to show you those dies blown up just a little bit more. And of course, that's still not the full size, but at least you get a better idea of what's included. And then they also give another sample, which I love. Love looking at the samples in the catalog because it really inspires me. And I do want to show you some samples made with this product before we get started on our project, because I do have a little card that I want to stamp with you today that I am excited to share. Okay, so let's talk about this paper again, because I love Designer Series paper. You've probably heard me say this a million times. It's probably my favorite product line that Stampin' Up! Comes out with. I mean, it is so easy, and I'm a very simple stamper, so it's so easy for me to create beautiful things with it. I'm going to take a look at this paper right here. Hi, Jamie. Thanks for joining. So, but take a look at this paper right here because you want to cut this so that you can maximize the items, the designs that are on this page. So you can get 6 card fronts using these 6 pieces right here. And then of course you can design some more with this little strip here. I just think this is so gorgeous. So I would cut this, I want to say it's at like around 5 inches right here. I'm not 100%, but when you line it up in your paper trimmer, you'll be able to see. So I would just put it in my paper trimmer. I trim right down that side so that I can preserve these 2 flower images as well. And then I would use these on another card. So let me show you some really simple samples with that. Okay, this one's really quick and easy. So I've taken the sentiment from the stamp set that coordinates, "Thank you for your kindness," which is right here, and just simply stamped it on the inside. It fit perfectly. And then I backed it with a layer of crushed curry, and then also on a card base that's rich raspberry. And then this is rich raspberry ink. Of course, you'd want to bling this up a little bit if you like that, or if you like it just like it is. I think that card works perfectly. And you can make really quick and easy thank you cards, right? You could just kind of whip through those really fast. So there's that first one. And then I decided I wanted to do it, so this is landscape. I wanted to do a portrait version of it, but I wanted to add a little extra items to it. So I used the die cut here. It's called, what are these die cuts? I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head. It'll come to me. Anyways, I use them quite often. You would think I would know it. So I use this die cut here to stamp the Celebrate You, which is also a part of this stamp set. And then I added some old olive ribbon behind it, and then a little bit of twine there. And then I embellished it with our opal, or their pearl embellishments that have like an opal finishing to it. So they're not our pearl embellishments that we typically have, but they're special. And so I'll have to show you, I'll point that out in the catalog. And then I just trimmed it down a little bit. You can see that my matting is a little bit different between these two. Not much, but just a little bit. So there's that. And then this paper here, let me see if I can find it. This paper here is really fun. And so I personally would just cut it right down the middle at 6 inches. And then that gives me an opportunity to do whatever I want on either side. So let me show you some samples with that. So here is another quick and simple one. I just basically cut this down to about 4 inches this way, and then it's 5 1/4. So I trimmed off some of the bottom of it, and I think I left the top pretty much right where I had trimmed it at 6 inches, and I just trimmed off the bottom so that I'd have room for the "Thank you for your kindness," and I stamped it directly onto the paper. Of course, I practiced, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't stamp it crooked, but rich raspberry ink, and then I used a rich raspberry base again. Again, super simple card, very fun. And then for this card, so you'll see when you are cutting this paper, if I were to cut 4 inches and 4 inches, that would give me 3 equal pieces, right? You're gonna have some rich raspberry here, you're gonna have some crushed curry here, and the very middle one is gonna be more of a blushing bright or like a pink. And then the one on the end is gonna also be like a rich raspberry and crushed curry. So I wanted to make sure that I highlighted, so it's this end right here that I've cut at 4 inches. And I have trimmed more of the top off this time than I did with this one, right? And then I ended up stamping, when I first did this, I stamped directly to the paper. It didn't come out like I wanted to, so I did crushed curry. I had a scrap of this top piece here, and I just stamped directly on it, and then I die cut it out with our He's the Man dies. And then I used the He's the Man dies to make this little banner that I placed behind it. So there's actually 2 banners that I adhered together to make that. So of course, embellish that as much as you want, or you can leave it just as simple as this. I love how this yellow, this pulls out all of that yellow, the yellow from these flowers, as well as these flowers, and I just think it turned out great. Okay, we're still looking at that paper. And so we've got, let's see here. This one comes from this side of the paper, and then this one comes from this side of the paper, and now I want to play with this paper in the middle. So I decided to make a horizontal or landscape one. Of course, I had to do it on the other side because I needed it to be a little bit wider. And so I see the pink here, and I wanted to pull the pink through. in this card, and I trimmed it really close to the top of the card, and then so that more of it at the bottom was showing. And then I was able to kind of, I just fussy cut the thank you and put it on a die, and then that's that card. So 3 different cards here using this one sheet of paper, and I'm telling you, I could have kept going because this paper is absolutely stunning. So there's that. And then I want to share with you some more projects. You'll find these projects actually cased from the catalog. So this one does not use any of this paper, but I just wanted to show you the stamp set here. So I've stamped a couple of the different stamps and then just watercolored them. This die right here, I'm trying to remember where this die came from. This die comes from another designer series paper that I'll be showing probably next week. So stay tuned for that and you'll see where this die came from, and it's one that I'm going to be using a lot. And then I brought in the, the burlap or the tweed, or I don't know what this ribbon's called. Sorry, guys. I brought that in as an accent because that's actually, let me see, I think it's in the catalog here. And when I cased this, I had taken some of my own liberty to do different things. So you'll see that ribbon there. And this paper that's behind it, I actually, instead of using the paper that came from, I just grabbed some of our Host Designer Series paper that's in the annual catalog and backed it with that. And I think it turned out great. So there's some die cuts here that you can see that gives it a nice little texture, and then I've got some rhinestones. So I did use the champagne rhinestones instead of the rhinestones that they have pictured here. So it's really fun to case from the catalog, especially if you're trying to get your mojo and you're trying to think of something you want to design just to get started. I usually get all the paper out, pull all the colors that coordinate with the paper, and then I'll start designing maybe something from the catalog to get me going. And then once I get going, then I'm off to the races, and it's a lot of fun. So another card that I cased was this one, again, taking liberty to change the designer series paper out here. But these really feature the dies. So these are the dies that are a part of the design of this die set. So this is called the Dainty Delight bundle, and these are the Dainty Delight dies. And so I took these flowers here, they're like little sunflowers, and then this one, and then you've got some little pieces here that allow you to put the items in the middle, the detail in the middle. And I really love this detail in the middle because it even has some little embossed dots that make it look like a sunflower, essentially. And I probably could have layered 2 of these flowers on top of each other, but I just kept it like that, kind of mimicking that image there. I did use a different designer series paper here, and they just stamped, and they also stamped right on that paper. So you'll see that this is a very common trend, and that's taking the designer series paper and covering the entire front of the card. I usually like to put a little mat around my, let's see here, let's use an example. Like you see how there's a little mat around there? Well, both samples that came out of the catalog, they take the designer series paper all the way to the edge. So that's kind of new to me, and something that I'm playing around with. And so my project today does do that same exact thing. Let me show you. I'll actually just get the piece out, the card out, or the card pieces out, and start stamping. I feel like I took a poll once and asked, do people like to see the card that we're going to make first, or do they like to see it like kind of come to fruition as I'm stamping? So you guys will have to let me know. And I feel like they like to see the card first. I can't remember exactly which poll went out, but I'll ask that a question again. So do you like, when you're watching stamping videos, do you like to see the card that they're making first, or do you like to kind of be surprised? So definitely comment down below and let me know. So here are my pieces. Very simple, right? I'm going to just start stamping, and then I'll show you the card. And then if you guys vote the other way, maybe I'll try it differently next time. So I'm going to start with some Starry Sky ink. And the Starry Sky coordinates with this designer series paper. This paper really stood out to me. And so, oh, Jamie says she likes to see the card first. Okay, well, for you, Jamie, let's do that. here we go. So this is the card that we're going to be creating today. And you'll see that I took the designer series paper all the way out to the edges. And then I have a couple little techniques that I'm using on here. I think I could call them techniques that you'll see. So the card is very simple, but there are some fun elements to it. All right, so we'll get started with that. I'll actually set that to the side so you guys can kind of keep track of it as I'm going. Now, I took our Scallop Contours dies, which are some of my favorite dies, for this focal piece here. This up here. Okay, and I'm going to take this stamp. So this is one of the stamps in the stamp set. And did you guys know that if you know we have embossing powders, so we've got like gold and silver and black and clear and all that stuff. But did you know that if you stamp with a juicy ink pad and then you cover it in clear embossing powder, that it'll essentially give you a raised embossed look in the color that you just stamped with. So that's what I'm going to do. If you've never done that before, definitely try it out. My reasoning or my rationale behind that is that I wanted to be able to do some watercoloring and kind of corral the ink a little bit. And so that when I stamp it and I put water on it, the image itself doesn't bleed. Because if you decide you want to watercolor, you're going to want to use something like StazOn ink so that it doesn't, the lines don't bleed. But I didn't want to use StazOn ink. I wanted to use the Starry Sky. So I'm just going to ink this up like that. Okay, I better open my clear embossing powder first because I don't want to miss out on that. I like to keep my embossing powder in this kind of a container. So we'll ink this up. And let me do this real quick. I need to use my embossing buddy. So this embossing buddy, we just started carrying it again. It is kind of like an anti-static, and it allows you to, wherever you stamp, then that is where the embossing powder is going to pick up and not everywhere else on your paper. So let's see, I'm just going to stamp right in the center here. Okay. I'm going to pick it up very quickly and shimmy and shake it in my clear embossing powder, back and forth, up and down. Okay. So when I turn it over, I'll flick off the excess. Okay, oops, kind of knocked too much of it off. Okay, hopefully you guys can tell that instead of being that really vibrant starry sky, it kind of has like a cloudy look to it. That's because that's the embossing powder doing its work. It's sitting on top of that image. And now what I'm going to do is heat set it. So if I take my heat gun, which is off to the side here, and I run my heat tool over it, then it melts all of that embossing powder. So hang tight for a second. So I'll show you here if you can see the difference. The top part I've heat embossed, the bottom part still has powder on it, so it's a little bit cloudy looking still. Okay, let's see. Okay, so again, like I said earlier, my rationale for that is that I want to add some watercoloring to this, and I don't want my image to bleed. So there's that. Okay, let me grab, these are our aqua painters. Hopefully you guys have all played with this before and are familiar with it. I'm just going to take my ink pad, and actually there's plenty of ink on in the well there. So I'm going to add a little bit of water. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Hannah. Okay, there we go. Squeeze a little water and mix this all together. I do have a little tip. If you were using like our watercolor paper, or if you were using our shimmer paper, then you can just let the paper absorb the ink and the water, and it doesn't warp the paper, it doesn't pill it or anything like that. Because I'm not using that, I'm just using our basic white. I want to be careful, so I grab some tissue here so that I can blot my flowers. Let me get a little bit more of that ink off there. I'm going to blot my flowers as I add some watercolor to it. So see, just like that. Then I can add a little bit of more. Ooh, that was really dark. And I'm just gonna quickly just go over the flowers, not perfectly, but just to add some color. So you guys feel me on this, right? You see where I'm going with it? Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bring in some green. So that's the Starry Sky. And to get the ink color off, I just kind of squeeze the barrel a little bit so some water runs through on the brush tip and get some of that extra ink off. Okay, I'm gonna move this to the side. I won't color the whole thing. I will off camera, but I don't want to be on here forever coloring. And then we're gonna open this up. So what I do is I just squeeze the ink pad together, open it up, and now I've got some ink in the well. And I'm gonna pick up some of that green. Watercoloring like this is so much fun. So I'm just gonna add some green to the leaves. Again, I like to blot. And then if I wanted to go back in and make the green darker, because once I blot it, it definitely takes some of that color out of there. Maybe I wanna go back over this leaf again and this one and make some spots a little bit darker, then I can do that, okay? So I go through and color all the leaves, okay, just like that. And I'm gonna set this ink to the side because I will finish this card a little bit later. I really enjoy watercoloring. I find it to be relaxing. So there's that. All right, hi Nan. Coloring is relaxing for you too. Oh, I think I agree 100%. So this is like, if you can see the flowers, all of the color is not, you know, completely covering it, which gives it a really pretty watercolor look. And my friend Brenda Nelson calls that lazy watercoloring, I think. And she does such a great job with it. And I just love how that looks. So now what I did next was, because it's a little bit warped from the heat embossing, I am going to adhere it directly to this layer. This is also from the contour dies, the scalloped contour dies. And I'm just gonna lay it directly in the center here and try to get it to kind of lay as flat as possible. There we go. And then, like I said, this is kind of all the rage where you're putting the designer series paper to the very edge of your card base. But the great thing is, with this being free paper for every $50 you spend, you could just use as much of it as you want. You can get some more. Okay. Oh, I was talking and not focusing. All right, so because it's not cut perfectly, I'm just going to, there. All right, and then what you can do is just flip it over and trim the excess. So you can do this exact same thing to your flap of your envelope. I didn't grab an envelope to do that, but I definitely will, so that the card coordinates really well with the envelope. The other thing you could do is just stamp one of the flowers and color them on the envelope too. That always looks good. So we're gonna trim off this excess here. So I told myself this year I was going to get on and share more often. And you guys, I'm on a roll. This is week 2 and I've shown up in 2 weeks in a row. So let's see if I can keep this up. I still don't have a solid time of the day that I can actually come on. It's just my schedule's always kind of wonky. But once I figure that out and I solidify it, it's a little scary to commit to that much, but I'll try. Okay, so now we've got the base of the card here, and then we've got this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you that, oh, let me emboss the sentiment. We can actually stick this down really quick. I like to use every single piece of my dimensionals because if you know me, if you've ever stamped with me, you know I love dimensionals. They're inexpensive and they just really make the cards they just take them to the next level. So we'll put some in the middle because this is a bigger layer. Pop these off. So when I hop on each week, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to share, but I will be sharing something crafty and creative with you. Or I might even share some organizational type stuff with you, because I do like to organize my stuff whenever I can. So there's that, or just any kind of tips. So now that we've done that, let's grab a little piece of Starry Sky. And we're going to use this sentiment here. It says, sending love during this season of growth. The sample that I showed you earlier today, let's see, this one right here. This one uses that same sentiment, but it just says, sending love, sending love, sending love. Love that. I love how, you know, those little pieces look together. And that's what inspired me to create this look right here. So let's just take our Versamark ink, which is our sticky ink that we need. I'm going to tap, 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 get some ink on here. Let me grab my embossing powder. So this is my white embossing powder. Oops. Let's dust a little embossing buddy on here. And stamp straight down and straight up. And then we'll shimmy and shake. Get that embossing powder on there. I love white embossing powder on black or any dark cardstock color. Nan, you need organizational help? I actually do too. I love to organize my stuff and change up how I organize things and all that kind of stuff. I just never have time to do it. It's crazy. But I do love doing it. Okay, so I have a few little pieces of embossing powder that went astray. And let me give you guys a little tip while I'm thinking of it. So you guys know our Take Your Pick tool. This is that tool that has, it's a dual tipped tool. And on one end, you've got this putty. And the putty is used to either pick up little tiny pieces of die cuts or gems or anything like that and put it on your card. But you can actually use it to remove some of these excess straggly pieces of embossing powder that you don't want. So that's just a little tip from me to you. Make sure you have one of these in your arsenal. I use it quite a bit. Let me heat set this real quick. Hi, Erin. Yes, I have been seeing that too. So I don't do it that often. And I mean, especially with me. So Erin just mentioned that, you know, she's seen a lot of demonstrations where people use the designer series paper all the way to the edge of their cardstock, like I was talking about earlier. I'm not used to that. And she really likes to keep her borders. And I do too. But I'm trying to get used to this. But with this particular card, this actually works because I've got so much white space there. So there's that. All right, now that I've done that, I'm just gonna fussy cut this here. And all I did was just straight edge cut and in between the sentiments. So concentrating, sending love. And if you wanted to, you could put some little points on the sides if you wanted to, or like angle them. And then for this one, during this season, I decided to split it up a little bit, and it allowed me to stack the sentiment a little bit more. Okay. Hopefully you guys don't mind me cutting this. I usually try to do, you know, magic of television and have one already waiting and ready to go, but there's that. Okay. There's that. And then last bit. So if you're friends with me on Facebook, I posted today some plants that my aunt gave me before she left to go back to the Philippines. And she bought them for me. One is what she called a money tree, and it's currently dying. So I hope that's not a bad sign. But I just don't have a green thumb. And a lot of people mentioned that maybe they thought I had overwatered it. So these are the kind of plants and flowers that I like. Definitely, my husband has more of a green thumb than I do. All right, have you guys used this before? The fine tip glue pen. So this is a different, This is so old that this is not the new label that they have, because Stampin' Up! Has come out with the new labels for them. But anyways, it's a liquid glue, and it's got a little needle point at the end. It just makes the precision a lot better. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to add another little element to it. So just a little tiny bit of this goes a long way. So I just added that, and I'm going to place it right here, and I'm going to do it kind of at an angle-ish, because I don't want it to be so perfect. I add a little bit in the middle. Now, you definitely have to use, I say this all the time with the green glue, just a tiny little bit goes a long way, because it will squish out, and and it did. I thought I only had a little bit under that, but it just squished out right there. Sending love during this season of growth. So I'm trying to think of who I would, like, what occasion would I send this for? Sending love during this season of growth. So maybe as an encouraging card to somebody who maybe didn't get something that they wanted, but maybe it's just a way for them to learn from whatever that situation was. I might be reaching here, but anyway, so there's that. But I think that would be a card. And what other reason would I send a card that said that? If you guys have any ideas, let me know. So the other thing I wanted to show you about this fine tip glue pen is that if you take it and you add some of it on top of your flowers like that. So I didn't color all my flowers in, but the flowers that I did color, I'm going to add some of this fine tip glue, and I'm just adding a layer of it, a thick layer of it actually. And if I leave it alone and let it set to dry, it's going to have a raised, shiny, clear look that almost looks like enamel. So it's a cool little technique that you can use, and I'll show you on the original card. But here's a little tip with the fine tip glue pen. Let me make sure that I'm focused in here. This little needle, it's a real pistol to try to get it in here, but make sure you get it in here and that you're checking to that it's in there so that you can seal it nicely, because I realized that I was sticking it in and it was on the side. Can you guys see how it's on the side right there? And if you do it on the side, it goes in and you can close it, but it's not actually closed. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. So you don't want it to get clogged. And then if you have a hard time getting it into the hole, I like to place this along my finger here and let my finger be a guide to help me get it in there. There. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. That's the fine tip glue pen. I don't use it that often, so I thought I'd whip it out, and then I'll show you here. Let me see if I can focus my camera. Hopefully you can see the flowers have like a glass look to them. Are you guys seeing that in the camera? So it's a raised, it's a kind of a raised look to it. So there's that. So I wanted to show you a couple, I want to call them techniques. So the first one is that you can heat emboss using any of our ink or any of our classic ink pads. You just stamp, make sure it's juicy, you stamp it on your paper, and then you shimmy and shake it under some clear embossing powder, and then heat set it. Of course, tap off the excess, heat set it. And then the other one was to use the fine tip glue to add that little glassy enamel type look to it. So there's that. Okay, so let me bring in the projects again that I shared. If you are, thank you, Gina. Gina, I have you on my to-do list of someone I need to call. So stay tuned. I might text you in a little bit. Hannah, that's a strange sentiment. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what other occasions. Sending love during the season of growth. All I can think of is that it would be during a time that was like a trial or a tribulation for somebody. And, you know, I feel like whenever things don't go my way, like there is a reason for it. I either learn something from it, even though sometimes I don't realize what it is for years to come, but you know what I mean. So I would think it'd be something like that. So Erin, you said my money tree likes to be, oh, okay, you got a tip for me here. In the sun, behind a window though. You sunburnt the leaves once. Okay. I actually got a tip from somebody that said, that I needed to put it in indirect sunlight. And I feel like it is. I don't know. I'm going to try to do something. Someone else said to put it in a bigger pot, that maybe I'm overwatering it. I just really don't like to take care of plants. That's really bad. And when my aunt, she brought me both of those plants. One was a money tree, and then the other one, she said, was like for protection. And oh man, y'all, I cannot let those die, because I was like, great, she's leaving me with these plants. I just cannot do anything when I kill every plant. So now here I am with all this on my shoulders to make sure I don't lose all my money or get harmed in some way. So anyways, I know I'm being silly, but I've got to make sure that plant survives. That's the end of that. Okay. Season of waiting or difficulty is what Nan says. A new job. So let me think here. Sending love during this. Oh yeah, Lisa, that's a good one too. Sending love during the season of, because I know I have started jobs before that it was a lot of growing that I had to do. Because as an occupational therapist, you can work in so many different fields. And so sometimes I worked in areas of occupational therapy that I didn't do my entire career. And so you're having to relearn a lot of things or learn new things. And so that would be a very good card to send to somebody that's in that kind of a position. So thanks for that. That's super helpful. But like I said, I was going to bring in the rest of the cards here. I hope you guys like that card. It's really simple, but it's fun. So this card, like I said, super simple. You could make a ton of these cards. I definitely think I would need a couple more layers and some embellishments, but I wanted to just put something together really quick for you guys to show you. So there's that. There's this. Okay, here's this one. This one. Okay. Now, if you are a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you are interested in doing some stamping this weekend and you're local to me, if you're not local to me, I do have a to-go option as well. I am featuring a demonstrator stamp and share where I've designed 10 projects featuring all different kinds of stamps and product out of this catalog. One of the ones I'm really excited about is a blending brush card featuring this template right here. So I can't wait to show you guys how that turned out. But anyways, it's this weekend. Make sure you reach out to me and ask me about that. If you are a customer of mine and you want to place an order, I do have a host code for January. This is the first part of January here. So this is my host code that you guys can take advantage of. Place your order on my online store, and I'll leave a link in the comment section. But use this host code and then you'll get a free gift from me. Plus, if your order is $50 or more, so for example, if you decided you fell in love with this stamp set, so we've got thank you for your kindness, sending love during the season of growth, celebrate you, the best is yet to come. This is a great one too. That's a great sentiment. So if you were to get this stamp set and this die set, and if you got it together, that's a bundle, and I think it's like $54. So that's over the $50 threshold for a celebration. You would get that entire pack of designer series paper, this one, for free. And I don't know about you, but I love free. And I love celebration. So this is one of my favorite packs of paper that stood out to me. And you could, like I said, create so many cards. I didn't even touch on some of these. Like, look at this. There's so many things you could do with that. And I didn't even showcase a card with that yet. So stay tuned. Maybe I'll keep designing. So there's that. And then with this die set, let's bring it out of here. So you've got all of these special dies here that will die cut the flowers. Now, if anybody's on here and has played with this, I tried to see if any of these die cuts cut out the flowers in the designer series paper, because sometimes Stampin' Up! Will design dies to do that. I didn't see any that did that. So if I'm missing it, let me know in the comments. And then you've got, the great thing is you've got these duplicates here. So if you need to cut out a bunch of leaves, you can do that very quickly. And these center pieces right here, you've got duplicates there. So you can do all that really quickly. I'm trying to think of if this is, I think this just cuts out flowers that you can do for fun. I don't see a stamp. I'll have to look at the paper again to see. But anyways, so, and then you got this beautiful vine. So when I was creating this card here, all of these green, that's Granny Apple green, all of those green vines just came from one of these. And then I would just kind of clip it and put it here, and then take another piece of it and put it here, and then another piece here. So that was really fun to work with because it just took one of these vines here to create this card. So there's that. And then if you are a customer who has a really large order, let me just mention this because I can't not mention it. The joining special. So basically, especially if you're a hobby demonstrator who you just really want all of this product at a discount, you can choose one of these options. And during celebration, it's always souped up. It's always a better deal than it typically is. So typically it's $125 worth of product, but you only pay $99 and you don't pay any shipping costs. You do have to pay tax. But during celebration, they're actually throwing in an additional $50. So not just $125, but you're going to get to pick $175. So that's $50 on top of the already great deal. And then if you want, and that's for $99. Now, if you wanted this brand new little die cutting machine, and this is what the regular color die cutting machine, if you wanted this, then this right here is an additional $30 with celebration. So that is more than half off, okay? And you can pick either the white or you can pick this brand new boho blue. This is a brand new color that's coming out with the new annual catalog in May. So those are your options. Those are really great options, you guys. And then you can be a part of my team for as long as you'd like. And then we have a lot of fun in there, and I do have lots planned for this year. But this is a great deal. Don't miss out on that. If you guys have any questions about it, oh yes, Gina, definitely would love to talk to you. If you have any questions about any of this, let me know because I'd be happy to help. So next week, I'm going to hop on Wednesday again next week. And let's see, I think I'm going to, I'm not 100% sure yet. I have it like tentatively written down in my planner, but I think I'm going to showcase this. Don't hold me to it, but whatever I come on with, I promise it'll be cute, simple, and easy for you to duplicate if you wanted to. So let's see if we have any other questions here. It won't let me scroll. Let's see. Oh, Lisa says the brass butterflies or the new dragonfly trinkets would look good. Yes, they would. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Hannah. You guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been really fun, and I'm excited about sharing more. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all later. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Bye-bye.